I've probably been in 20 NHL fights, 20 to 25 NHL fights. I would say I won about 65%. And my biggest thing is I've never been cut in a fight. I always knew when the tables turned. I always came in on a fight and I would always throw first. I knew, I don't know if it was funny because I don't know if someone told me, my mom or whatever, because my mom's a little firecracker and my dad, and they would always tell me, go in swinging, because when you're getting punched, it's hard to control yourself and punch back, and so I'd always go into fights swinging. And then when I knew the guy kind of got his feet underneath him, I would know how to trip myself and fall down. Again, it was more about that. And again, I always, I'd try to get a good hold and I'd throw 4 or 5 punches with my right, and just see how it goes from there. But once I knew the guy was all right, he was starting to throw back, he was starting to change the tables a little bit, I just knew how to trip him and fall on myself or twist him. And again, if you see my fights, I'm the guy pulling him down because I knew that I got the upper hand and I knew it was done. The toughest guy I fought, one was Luke Shen in Toronto. I fought him. He was a real tough guy. Jamie Benn, Matt Martin was another guy that was, they all knew how to fight. The funny story with Luke Shen, I remember I was not playing great. I needed to do something, and he just took a real heavy run at Genny Malkin. And so I came on, and I just ran into him. We were changing, and I just ran into Luke Shen, and a scuffle broke loose. And I remember for some reason, I ended up having Dominic Moore, which was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to beat the wheels off this guy, and I look over and Max Talbot had Luke Shen. And so I'm chirping because I had my guy, but didn't Max let go of Luke Shen? And then I had no choice but to go over there and fight Luke Shen. And I did well. He probably had 45 pounds on me through both hands. But I hung in there. And the biggest thing, especially after my career, I've learned was it's not so much about winning or losing. It's about showing up, and it's about really in life, just showing up and just being there and showing up for your teammates. And that was one of the times that I was going to kill Max.
Well, I'm looking right when Ron asked that question, I went back and looked at some of your fights, and this is my favorite one because I couldn't stand this guy, and neither could anybody else in the league. Brooks Orpik said Sean Avery's own teammates hated him.
Tried to hurt people, right?
Yeah. So here you are, November 29th, 2011, coming out of the penalty box, you and him. So this must have been prearranged because there was no hesitation. You both throw your gloves a million feet in the air and start pounding each other. What do you remember about that one?
For that one, it was funny because I hated Tortorella, and Tortorella was the coach of Avery in the Rangers. So I felt no matter where I went in the lineup, Tortorella would put Avery there, and I knew he was so good at chirping. He chirped me like crazy, and I chirped him back with some stuff. But he was always a guy that was in my weight class that was pretty tough. He was another guy that was my size, but maybe the toughest guy I fought for my size. But when we played New York, it was the first shift, and I remember he came and he was going to run into me, and I dropped my gloves right away, and I threw one punch, and he fell. And then when I was on top of him, all he said was, "You're effing dead. You wait." And I was like, "Oh boy, we're not done. We're good. No, we're good. No." And I remember going into the box. I'm in the box, and I look over, and he is eating his glove. And I'm like, oh boy. I knew right away I had 2 minutes, and might have been the longest 2 minutes of my life, but you're trying to fire yourself up to get real, real mad. And then we end up stepping out. I knew it was going to happen, but you want to talk about anxiety and anxiousness to get that thing over with. But now that I look back, not too many guys can say they fought center ice at Madison Square Gardens in front of a sold-out house.